Think about this. A comprehensive eye exam can be an early detector of serious health problems like high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. Shouldn't you see your eye doctor yearly? Go to thinkaboutyouryes.com to learn more and for a list of local eye doctors. It could help save more than your vision.
We've all been hurt at some point, even abandoned. Many of us have done the hurting ourselves. We get to the point where we don't trust anyone, nor do we feel worthy of being loved by anyone. Then there's that one person who just doesn't give up on loving you. Their love is unconditional. Their love stays long enough for you to heal. And then they promise to never leave. That's love you can count on. God's love.
Hello, everybody. My name is David Evans from Washington, D.C. Want to give you a lot of love out there to the world today. It's Hello America time on the PIC TV network. Michelle Cox is with me. This is my co-host, award-winning #1, Michelle Cox from Atlanta, Georgia. Michelle, we have a powerful show tonight. Are you ready?
I'm absolutely ready. I'm so engaged because we're going to get to the heart of the financial matter. Dr. Evans, you have got some amazing guests coming on, and I can't wait for us to play the credit game.
Michelle, I'm trying to keep cool because I'm the president of PIC TV Network, but you just made me laugh. Michelle, we have done so many shows from Hello America, starting out to all of the shows on PIC TV Network. You've been there, my #1 host. Tonight is going to be big. I think this is going to be one of the biggest shows we have had on Hello America because of the fact that we have a special guest going to be giving us some information. Leroy and the Queen Robinson is going to be joining us in a second. But the Hello America show is our show that we shoot across the world on big subjects. Tonight is going to be one of the biggest ones. Michelle, you're going to help me to talk about some of these subjects that we're going to talk about. Can you just go down some of the lists, Michelle?
Well, think about it, because a lot of people have questions around financial literacy. And so we're going to talk about what banking is, what credit is. Also, we're going to get to the nitty-gritty of how much savings we should have. And we've got a special guest. Oh, my God. I can't wait for Mr. Leroy to come on so we can pepper him with some questions. You know, yeah, he did.
And he's in the same. He's in the same space you in, Michelle. So I'll have to let you guys jail for a minute.
Hey, my pleasure always.
Yes, nice to meet you.
So, just 1 second, because I've got to let everybody all over the world know. Leroy, tell us a little bit about you and some of the things that you do at TCL Financial Group.
TLC.
Excuse me, TLC.
What I do is pretty much I focus on middle class people who are usually overlooked by the financial industry. And what I mean by that, companies like Charles Schwab and T. Rowe Price, Edward Jones, these are companies that don't focus on the working family, you know, and I feel as though working families deserves to build wealth just as much as people that got money. So that's one of the things that we focus on. We show people how to build wealth through life insurance and eliminate the banks. And securities like annuities and 401ks and stuff like that, we focus on a lot of stuff like that for low income families. And don't get me wrong, we don't neglect the people with the money either, but that is our focus, and mainly military, because I am prior military. So that's a lot.
Well, thank you so very much for your service, sir. I'm also military. And we're glad that you're focusing on family. Now we have another wonderful guest, Miss Adrienne Robinson.
Yeah.
Give her 1 second. Make sure you get you some water because we don't want you choking.
Nothing about that. She will be okay. Let's get right into this interview today, Michelle. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about what is money and bank lending, and let's get right into it, Leroy. You're our expert tonight. What is money and bank lending?
Well, I mean, people tend to look at money from different aspects. Money is a means to an end. And what I mean by that is you have to have money to make certain things happen. Some people look at it as, you know, if I don't have money, I can't do nothing. If I don't have money, I can't pay my bills. If I don't have money, I can't go on a summer vacation or whatever it is. But for me, money's means to an end, because whatever goals you may have in life, you're going to need some type of money to make that happen. So if you are not familiar with what's been happening in the past couple of weeks, and I'll throw this out there, the bank collapse in Silicon Valley. And if you're not tracking, the bank collapse in New York City. So for those people that have money in the banks, they are panicking like crazy, because now everybody is taking their money out and they're wondering what I'm going to do with my money. So I hope that kind of answer your question.
Okay, well, let's go a little bit further, because you're talking about money in the bank. What about the FDIC? What about the insurance on the money? How secure are our funds?
Well, that depends on the FDIC. Now, the FDIC only going to cover up to $250,000 of money that's in the bank. But just imagine if you got more in there. You're only getting, if you get all of that, because you have to remember, we got so many people in the bank that got bank accounts. They may not be able to give you your whole $250,000 because they have to divide their money up between so many people. Everybody is not going to get all of their money. I'm gonna just tell you that right now. It's just not going to happen, because the Federal Reserve don't have that kind of money to give out to all those people. So you figure we have 100 people in that Silicon Valley bank that had over $250,000 in that bank. Do you think every single person, every 100 of those individuals going to get $250,000? I don't think so. ain't gonna happen, because now you're taking money from the federal. That ain't gonna happen. But
well, it's insurance for a reason. Because say you don't get it all today, eventually you will get up to $250,000.
yes,
if not today, eventually.
But it all depends on what you had in the bank. The limit is $250,000. If you had maybe 10,000, that's all you're going to get is $10,000.
Right.
But yes, you're going to get that money. It just may not be all in one swoop.
Correct.
You know, but you're going to get your money because it's insurance. So you're going to get your money. May not.
I had a question. My question to Leroy, and also I think Mr. Cox for being on, and Ms. Robinson, you can chat in too. When you put money in the bank, and I was listening this week to a person who is from Iran, and he was from Egypt, and he had his turban on, and he was talking about when we put our American money in the bank, Michelle and Leroy, that money is lent out, which means they take that money that we have and send it to somebody else and lend it and triple it over and push it out. So if I put $100,000 in the bank, I wish I had that, Michelle. It sounds good. If I had $100,000 or $1 million, they won't. That $1 million is not going to sit in the bank like I'm thinking, going to draw interest, going to be there. They shift that money.
Well, here and just to Mr. Carlton, because we know if you had $1 million, you wouldn't let it sit in the bank anyway. That's one reason that you're here.
No,
because there's no reason for them to get more interest on the money than they can pay you.
Well, think about this, and I'm gonna read you something real quick. Okay, Silicon Valley Bank collapse drags down the tech industry, and this might be interesting for you. What it says, the collapse of the SVB is the biggest bank failure since Washington Mutual in 2008. Now, the SVB invested, keyword, invested. So you can only invest money when people deposit money.
That is correct.
So I'm taking what you're putting in the bank. I'm only giving you 0.01% interest on your money, which is next to nothing. But as I'm investing your money, I'm also giving people car loans, mortgage loans, business loans, and I'm charging them 14 to 30.99% interest on that money. I'm making a heck of a profit. And then I put you a little bit of money back.
Exactly.
And you're making nothing. Now, it said the SVB invested a lot of its $175.4 billion in deposits into the tech industry, and it failed. So that's why the bank collapsed. Now, New York, the bank in New York is called Signature Bank. They took all of their deposits and invested into cryptocurrency, and it failed. So all that money of your money that was invested is gone.
Except for what's insured.
There you go. That's it.
Well, these are the things that I know, and that's why I tell people, if you have a substantial amount of money, to get with somebody like you. Somebody that's going to get them into annuities, insurance, and things that aren't going to risk the principal of their money. For me personally, I think of a bank as somewhere for me to pay my accounts. That's it. It's a convenience.
There you go.
But not somewhere that I'm making money.
No. I use the banks as a means to pay my bills.
That's
Meaning
it.
I only put in the bank the total of what my bills cost, and it covers my bills. Other than that, I'm not giving the bank zero money to make no money off of me.
Michelle, and I want to come in for a minute, Michelle and Leroy. and Miss Robinson is down there also. Michelle, because we can talk about anything. You know, we can go back 100 years. Let's go back to us as African Americans. Okay. And let's go back to our brothers and sisters who started the bank. Were Black people allowed to have accounts when it first started? And give me a definition of when this whole thing kicked off, Michelle.
Okay, so because this is one of the things I talked about, and this is one of the books that I had talked to you about, Dr. Evans, and it was Black wealth and Black banking. Now, Black people weren't allowed to have accounts. They weren't allowed to go into agreements because we were seen as 3/5 human. Now, once we started a bank, the bank that was started for us, the Freedmen Bank, was run by a white person. Mm-hmm. They actually took all the money that people had saved because they were like, well, as Black folks, we need to be thrifty with our money. We need to save. We need to pull ourselves by our own bootstraps. That's what they said. So they started a bank. It's like, well, you need to be able to have bank accounts. You need to be able to do this, that, and the other to move in the financial sector. But instead of a Black person running the bank, they put a white guy over the back. He lent money to everybody except for Black people and absconded with all the money. All their wealth gone like this. And they didn't have insurance. There was no FDIC. So for a long time, Black people didn't even believe in banking. You got people like, say, my grandmother, my great-grandmother. We put our money in the jar between the mattress, you know, with the shotgun by the bed, because no, we've been through that. We're not going back to where we trusted these people. The bank, supposed to have been our Freedmen's Bank, and they absconded with all our money.
Mm-hmm. Michelle, stop right there for a minute, because my father, John H. Evans, before he passed away, he had money under the mattress, in the glove compartment, in his shoes. My father had money everywhere. They had Riggs National Bank at that time, but he had money. And Michelle, now it's coming back. Just say that one more time, a little bit slower, so everybody out there. Why did our ancestors stash that money like that?
They stashed it because when a bank was established for Black people, they said we needed to make sure that we knew how to handle our money. We were thrifty with our money. We could open savings accounts in order to get into the financial sector. But that bank was overseen by a white man, by a white board. That man took that money, lent it out to all these white businesses, and absconded with the rest, leaving all the savings, everything that they took was gone. And there was no FDIC at the time. So these people lost everything, which is why so many Black folks then did not get into the banking system anymore, because they're like, you burn me once, shame on you. Burn me twice, shame on me.
So Michelle, where do we get this Black Wall Street? Educate us on that for a minute. Leroy, can you jump in? The Black Wall Street.
Well, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and there's more than one. There were over 200 Black communities that had uplifted themselves. They were like, okay, we're going to share. They were doing more than sharecrop. The lands they were bought. People came back from the military. They pooled their money together and resources because at the time it was segregated. So they went on to have Black bankers, Black lawyers, Black doctors, Black teachers, Black professionals that were integrated in our society. And they are the crux of what we call Black Wall Street. We had people that were making shoes, dressmakers, all of these things. Is that right, Mr. Carlton?
That is exactly right. And I think me and Dr. Evans, we did a show on Black Wall Street. And I ran down some of the businesses that was on Black Wall Street. Even back then, people didn't realize that we had pilots and they had planes. And they wondered, how in the heck did they get these planes? It don't matter. We can fly wherever we want to go. It was just that during that time, you had to go through somebody white to get something. And they did it all on their own. We're going to have a market. We're going to have a bank. We're going to have schools. We're going to have lawyer's office, doctor's office, and our money is going to circulate in our town 90% before it goes outside of the town.
Correct.
So I love that.
We had some of the best hotels. You're talking about Stratford, J.G. Gaston.
Yes.
The Lorraine Motel, E.F. Young. They had a hotel and they also a cosmetic line. I knew Mr. Young personally as a little girl. So, and you know, we had lawyers, doctors, dentists, some of the best dressmakers you can, hair care. Madam C.J. Walker, the first female billionaire.
We got a question, Michelle. Why did they burn it down in Leroy 2?
Jealousy.
Thank you.
Jealousy. Strictly just what it was. That town was burnt down due to jealousy.
Well, let's go a little deeper.
Yeah.
Number one, I don't know if anybody has seen this. If you haven't, there is a movie called The Banker, starring Samuel Jackson and Anthony Mackie.
Mm-hmm. Good movie.
And number one, for a long time as slaves, we didn't have rights. Then people don't realize before 1865, Black men actually had the right to vote. Not everywhere, but in certain states.
Mm-hmm.
But because we were rising to prominence and power, and because of white supremacy, the fact that white people don't think that Black people should be smarter than them at any time, these are the problems that we had. And I'm not talking about all white people. I'm talking about people that systemically wanted to keep us down because they had been used to getting free labor. So they had to make us inconsequential. But if we're smart, we're business minded, then that makes them look like, well, what have you been telling us about Black people or Black folks all these years? It has to be a lie. Plus, they had to keep white people dying of whiteness because a poor white person will align themselves if they think they're superior to Black people in any way, if that makes them feel good, even though they can look around and see that they're on food stamps, on welfare, they don't have housing, they've been renting. So when we get into the crux of the dynamics of it, it's status quo. So the status quo wants us to be marginalized. If they other us, this way they can rule in chaos because they got poor white people over here that think, you know, they're superior and they're not. It's just, it's a con game. It's a shell game. And that's one of the problems. What do you think about that, Leroy?
I totally agree. You know, we was just looking at some statistics not too long ago. Where we was looking at business ownership between the races. We're last, African Americans, we're last, and the Hispanics are 2% above us. Home ownership, we're last. The Hispanics, 2% above us. In any other category you name, financial, people making over 100,000, we're last in every category, which is the wrong answer.
It's the wrong answer because we know why. Because we know systemically they've drained our wealth.
It was designed that way.
Oh, every time that we've gotten ahead, every time that we seem like we're pushing forward or we're elevating, we get backlash. It's just like we were supposed to get 40 acres and a mule. Lincoln got murdered. Once he got murdered, Thomas Jefferson, an avowed racist, came in and was like, rolled all of that back.
Yeah, what do you talking about?
Same thing. Rolled all of that back.
Hey, everybody, you're watching a special presentation on the PIC TV network. This is a special presentation on Hello America. And we're talking to some financial experts today. We're going to bring in Ms. Robinson in a few minutes. We have Michelle Cox from Atlanta, Georgia. She is award-winning anchor person on PIC TV network. We have TCL, and that's Tender Love and Care with Your Money, you know, with us today, financials. He is our expert today, and also Ms. Robinson is here. And we have an listener out Lounge, Alma, who will be joining us later on. We're going to take a commercial break, and I'm going to come back. We're going to talk about, does your money belong to you when it gets into the bank? When the bank get it, does that money still belong to you? And we're also going to talk about how many Black-owned banks are operating now. You know, and you guys can chat in. Those who are watching right now, you can chat in on Facebook, the Pick TV Network, LinkedIn, the Pick TV Network, Twitter. And we got a brand new audience, folks. That is Amazon Live. We're so happy. Amazon Live, Pick TV Network. Thank you for tuning in. We had this commercial break. Come on back and take a pencil and pad, chat in. I see your questions coming in. We'll be right back after this.
It's the biggest. You know, so she want the all. She want the all.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm your host, Izumi, and we are reporting live from Los Angeles, California, and we are on Pick TV Network on Roku TV. And if you're not tuning in right now, you better tune in because you do not want to miss the latest and hottest indie music videos, fashion, celebrity news, interviews, and so much more for you guys that we're going to bring a home for all indie artists and all genres of music. So we are the streets, we are the culture, and we are the content. Stay tuned, Roundtable TV.
Hey everybody, we're back here on the Pick TV Network, Hello America, and we are here with our co-host from Atlanta, Georgia, which is Michelle Cox. We're going to bring in Leroy and also Miss Robinson. Michelle, this is hot. You know, we have so many topics we talked about, and I'm getting educated into the banking world by Leroy and Miss Robinson. Michelle, there's so many people watching us right now from all over the world on Hello America, and they have money in the bank, you know, and we want to ask Leroy, does that money belong to you when you put it in the bank, Leroy?
It belongs to you until you take it out. I mean, once you put your money in there, that money belongs to the bank. And they're going to do what they want to do with that money until you come in and take it out.
Michelle, I panic, and I'm not ashamed. Maybe I should be ashamed. When COVID hit, my 401k dropped down to almost $10,000, and I panicked. I took it out, Michelle. Somebody said you should have left it in there. It's coming back. But when I seen it going like a bathtub with water with the plug going out, I was like, I can't do this. But Michelle, was that the right thing to do? You know, sometimes you just like when the gas thing happened and people were siphoning the gas, you said, ride it out. Everything gonna be all right. Or people standing in lines. I know this is a different subject, folks, but I want Michelle to comment on this. You said just wait until things settle down. But was that the right thing to do? Is COVID, Michelle? Everybody's panicking. I took mine out and I put it into another format.
Okay, well, if you put it into, say, a Roth IRA or somewhere else, that's fine. But just to take it out and you're not getting any return on investment, that wouldn't have been the best thing to do. It's like, I have money in stocks. I have investments. Right now, you just have to ride the wave. They are long-term. You have long-term and short-term investments. The thing about it is to watch the market, see what's going on. Also, you have to make sure you're doing the proper research, and part of that research is making sure that whatever company, you're watching their financials. You're seeing what they're doing on the back end. If you see trouble, then yes, it would be time for you to divest and go somewhere else. But there are other means, and that's why Leroy's here today. Leroy, say you got scared in the market and you wanted to move your 401k. What would you do?
I would take that 401k and move it into an annuity. And I have a lot of people that do that. I have a lot of clients that'll take their money out of a 401k.
So before you go into that, I want you to explain what an annuity is, how it benefits, and is it a long or short-term gain?
Well, the company that I deal with called Athene. Athene has a long-term deal for those people that just want to put money away and let it grow. And you have short-term deals. You have like a 5-year package and a 7-year package. Then you have a 10-year package and a 15-year package. What an annuity does for the client, it is mainly based on the investments in the stock market. And let's just say S&P 500, New York Stock Exchange, the Euro Stock Exchange, whatever you have your money slotted in this annuity, this will make you money during the process of how long you keep it in that annuity. Also, it is not taxed unless you take something out of it, just like the 401k. But this money is not taxed like the 401k. I think for the 401k, it's like a 20% tax hit if you take your money out before the time. With an annuity, for each year that you have your money in there, there's a certain percentage that will come out if you decide to take money out of your annuity. So I usually tell people, if you're going to put money into an annuity, just leave it. Just act like you don't have it or you don't need it, whatever the case may be, just ignore it. And it's not a tax hit. Now,
because you said that, and I know a little bit about annuities. So I have friends that have annuities, but they have like millions and millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do is they don't take it out, but they get disbursements on the interest.
Yes, you can.
And sometimes they roll it back in, and sometimes they use it to live on. Is that some of what you're talking about today?
Yes, you have people allocate their money. So when their annuity make money, instead of taking that money and having that money sent to them, they have it reallocated back into the annuity. So their money is constantly making money. So that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Now, banks do that, don't they?
It depends on the bank. Now, the banks that I deal with don't do that. They don't do that because the money that they're making off of your money, they're keeping. It's a profit for the bank, not you. So when you're getting this 0.01% interest, and I think for Bank of America, 0.01, for Wells Fargo, I think it's 0.02. It's a company called Salem Bank in Connecticut. That's 0.03. That's still nothing compared to the profit they're making off of your money. So when you hear about these bank collapses, it's because, and I think people see it now, all the investments that these companies are making, they're making from your money. And when those profits come back, they're not saying, well, since we took Jane's money, since we took like $3,000 of her money, let's go on and slide her $6,000 since we made $100. Let's go ahead and slide her $6,000. No, let's put her $3,000 back. Let her keep getting that 0.01 interest, and we gonna take all of this profit, put it in the bank. Now, when I tell people the best way to cut the middleman is this thing called infinite banking. Now, to give you a good example, I have a life insurance policy through Nationwide. I pay my premium every month. Whatever the stocks does, I make money. If the stocks lose, I lose nothing. So my wife wanted a car. Her favorite car is a Porsche Panamera. I went to my life insurance policy. I took a loan out for the amount that the car is. I went to the person with the money in hand and I negotiated a deal for the car. I actually paid less than what the car was. Now, didn't finance nothing, but I sat down and calculated that if I had to finance this car, how much would it have been for me to pay for this car every month? It came to like $325 or something like that a month. So I'm taking $325 and I'm paying myself back. The car's paid for, wife's happy, no finance charges, no nothing. And I'm paying myself back with $325 a month.
I got a question. I got a question, Leroy, for a minute. I got a question. Yeah, I got a question for you, Leroy, and I don't want you to laugh. Why do they call it life insurance and wait till you die, to try to spend it? You say life insurance, but it's and then you got to die for somebody else to use it.
Well, here's the thing, and here's what people don't understand, and here's what they don't tell you. Life insurance is just what it states. Life. Not when you die, life. So how you set your life insurance policy up, it's going to build tax-free cash accumulation. And while it's building all of that cash accumulation, all of that money is tax-free. The IRS cannot tax a life insurance policy. So when you hear Donald Trump talking about he ain't paid taxes in over 20-something years, it's because every dime that he has is tied up in a life insurance policy. Don't hate the player, hate the game. So whenever he needs money, when he wants to buy a building or if he wants to buy a business, he just take it out of his life insurance policy, buy the company, and he's good. He ain't paying no taxes. And people don't understand that. So that's how you do it. It's called infinite banking.
Wow, that is amazing. I want Queen Robinson to come in for a second. I know you've been in listening mode. You just said your first time on, but Queen Robinson, can you comment on that? You feel the same thing when it comes to life insurance?
I do. We're so far behind the 8 ball in our communities when it comes to life insurance. Life insurance in our communities, we think of it as death versus life. And we just need to be educated that it is about life and not run when we hear the word life insurance, because it should bring wealth to your family. Matter of fact, the Bush presidents started their fortune on life insurance. So did Joel Osteen's father. Started their wealth on life insurance. We just need a lot of people to come help us to educate us on what's real and what's not real.
Well,
I totally agree with that.
I do too.
Well, the thing about it is, and because he was talking about annuities, a lot of people don't know what annuities is. Like, I have a whole life annuity. I know that if you, as a parent, a young parent, if you get a whole life annuity for your child, when your child gets ready to go to college, your child's going to be set. We're only talking about $50 to $100 a month because it's going to continue to grow and grow and grow and grow. They can go to college for nothing because you will already have the funds that you need.
I'll do you one better. I have 4 grandkids. My youngest grandson, named Sincere, is 2 years old. He just turned 2. By the time he is 30 years of age, he will have $1.5 million sitting in a life insurance policy to do whatever he want to do. School, buy himself a little house, get himself a little car. Hopefully he be at a state of maturity where I'm still around. Hopefully I'll still be around, God's willing, that I will guide him with this money, that he don't blow it. But if he's going to school, college is paid for. He want to get us a little house after he graduate from college. Because if you think about this, in the United States, college is designed for you to graduate with debt. Hands down. Unless you have grants, scholarships, and all that stuff to cover everything that you're paying in college, it is designed for you to graduate with debt.
Well, you know why that is now, right?
Yeah.
Because college first started, it wasn't like that. They made college a business, but college wasn't supposed to be for the average person.
Right.
It was only supposed to be for the wealthy. We were supposed to still be serfs or slaves or working under someone, and they never wanted us educated, because what's more dangerous?
An educated black person.
An educated person, period. That's a problem that we have with poor white people that aren't educated, because the rules that they fell for is that, okay, I'm white. That makes me superior because I'm white. But they're still poor. They're still on welfare. They're still living in dilapidated housing. And all they have is the systemic mindset of that they're better than someone when they're not. And they, more than anyone, and poor blacks need to be educated, because it will bring them out of this lack mentality and out of being ruled under chaos, because that's what people do. They have us fighting against each other. I remember when white folks versus white people we were working together. We were making our communities together. But people that didn't want us to come together made sure that didn't happen.
Yes, I totally agree. And my whole thing with finances, it's education.
Yeah.
It's an education aspect. And reading.
Yeah.
I read any and everything I can get my hands on that has anything to do with finances. And I'll send books to my team or anybody that's willing to listen, because you know what they say. You want to hide something, put it in the book.
Yeah.
That used to be true, because we all know now that black women are some of the most educated. But the thing about it is, and Dr. Evans will tell you, and I'll tell everybody, I've got a new show coming where we're discussing the importance and power of reading. The thing about it is, we have to get people where they live. And a lot of times it's simple baby steps, because it's not like people don't want to read. If you've had your head down for so long and you don't think you have the power to do anything else, you'll continue looking down. When you finally look up at the sun and you realize that you have not only purpose, but power, it's totally different. And a lot of people haven't got there. We have to get them there.
And I'm with you 100%. I was telling Dr. Evans about my vision. What is the one place that black people in our community go to all the time? It's the church. This is one place that we all go for peace, praise God, say our prayers, whatever we need to do. But one place that we go is the church. So my vision was to go to the head of the church, which is the pastor, the reverend, the bishop, whatever, talk to him about educating his congregation and getting these people to the point of where their money is working for them. If this happens, people will give more to the church can give more to the community, and it's a never-ending cycle. And that's just my vision. That's just my vision.
There's nothing wrong with that vision.
It's going to happen.
The other part of it is we have to get out of this whole mindset of lack.
Yes.
Because fear will not make money.
It surely won't.
And I'm going to say that to everybody again. Fear does not make money. What you need to do, instead of buying the latest sneakers, buying cars that you cannot afford, that you have to finance, is work on, number one, having the minimal amounts of money that you need to have around. And Leroy, how much money should people have for emergencies right now? How much? How many months?
At least 6 months. At least 6 months. And I would usually say up to $6,000, $1,000 a month. But you need to have at least 6 months of an emergency fund set to the side in case of anything that happens your car break down, the hot water heater goes up, whatever the case may be. At least 6 months. If you can do more, that's even better, because I show people with their budget how you can set up an emergency fund on just what you're making. I think a lot of people don't buy life insurance. One, because they really don't know what a life insurance policy can actually do for you. And two, they tend to think they cannot afford it. But when I tell people, when I'm sitting with a client and I tell them, because the first thing they want to know is, how are you getting paid if I buy this policy? My money don't come from you. I make nothing off of you. When they hear that, now their mind is open, because they like, well, okay, if he ain't getting no money from me, how's he getting paid? Because the people that I attach you to, let's say Nationwide, if I attach you to Nationwide, Nationwide is paying me, not you, because I'm bringing them business. So why not take the money from them? Now, I'm telling you everything that this policy can do for you, and how it will benefit your family. And even if your time should come and you have to go meet the Lord, how it's still going to impact your family when you're gone. Because people don't understand the importance of generational wealth. I never had that from my father, because he only knew the extent of finances from his dad. My grandfather has 16 kids. So all he knew was buy groceries so they can eat and pay the bills so we have a house. And my dad was the same way. Hey, you got groceries in the house, the bills are paid, don't ask me for nothing. That was his extent of his financial education. But for me, I was always intrigued to know, what is the stock market? Why is everybody buying this stock? What is it going to do for you if I buy that stock? I was always intrigued with that. So I wanted to learn it. I wanted to know more. I wanted to know how to read the stocks. When you open up the newspaper and you're looking at all those numbers, what does that mean? But people would look at them numbers and close the paper up and throw it to the side and grab the sports section. No, that's not me. I want to know what those numbers mean, how I'll benefit from those numbers. And now I want to educate the masses on all of that. Because if you don't know, you're only hurting yourself.
Exactly. Well, it's the same thing with my parents. I was a pretty smart kid. I remember when Chrysler fell to 50 cents a share.
I remember that.
I ran home because I read it in the USA Today.
Remember that. I bought some of them shares.
Well, no, because I was too young to buy shares, because you had to be at least 18. I wasn't of age. I ran home. I said, Mom and Dad, I need you guys to go and borrow $2,000 and buy 4,000 shares of Chrysler. And my daddy was like, we don't do that kind of stuff. That's not stuff we do. And my mother though, she's like, tell me your argument. She's like, tell me why you would want us to do that. I said, it's going to hurt a little bit, but only for a little while. I said, think about it. We're military people. Mm-hmm. Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, AMC are all tied to the military.
Yes, they are.
There's no way that they're going to retool and get rid of all that equipment. They can't. It will put the military, and I'm talking about all branches, in a financial strain.
That's right.
So the government's going to save them. Now, when my father got ready to fully retire after military in his job in 1987, Chrysler stock had went from 50 cents a share to $87.38. At 4,000 shares. Exactly. You're talking about over $250,000. Free, literally done. All the things that he ever wanted to do, he could have done from $2,000.
Yeah.
But again, sometimes we need to listen to young people, because they have some things that they're watching that we're not. They're using some technologies that we're not.
Mm-hmm.
People call me young old all the time because I'm always on top of technology.
That's right.
But young people, a lot of times we discount or disvalidate some of the things that they say. We need to really open up our eyes and listen. So young folks, if you're out there listening to this broadcast, Get with mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, auntie, uncle.
That's right.
And help them to understand stocks, crypto, Bitcoin, all the rest of that. Help them understand what annuities are. Yeah. Because your future is depending on it.
That's right. And I don't know if you remember when the Texaco stock dropped because they had that huge oil spill.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See, when that happened, I only bought 20 shares.
Wow.
And I kick myself in the butt about that all the time. But a good friend of mine named Warren Wynn, Asian guy from the Philippines, he bought 400 shares of Texaco. And he sat there and he watched them numbers drop and he was just buying it up. Now I'm sure he's probably somewhere on an island somewhere with a cigar, just sitting back with his feet up, smiling. I bought 20 shares. 20 shares. Why? Because didn't know no better. But I kicked myself in the butt about that all the time.
Hey, folks, we're watching the Pick TV Network Hello America presentation right now. We're going to take a commercial break and come right back. We're going to get into the credit aspect of our conversation when we come back. And I'm going to ask our panel again. I was listening to one of the great minds of this great, I think one of the greatest minds of all. I don't like to push people's names out, but he was talking about the 5 major problems that Black people have. Number 1, miseducation. Number 2, mass incarceration. Number 3, gentrification. Number 4, police brutality. And number 5, less access to wealth that we're talking about tonight. And he's also said that we need, number 1, schools for our children. And I added, with our staff, teachers, and principals to look like us. We also need hospitals to take care of our people. We need supermarkets to feed our people. We need manufacturers and businesses that we own to employ our people, and distributions, which means we need to have access to funds in the bank, not Silicon Valley. You know, Michelle is going to tackle a lot of these things because coming from Mississippi, I'm from Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. I'll put the White House up in a minute. But she came from Mississippi. She knows about when we're talking about miseducation. And a lot of people don't even know about the Devil's Punch Bowl, which is a whole different subject that Michelle can talk about holding it down, that they're not teaching you in elementary, high school. And even some college teachers and professors don't even talk about that because it's called blackout, because they blacked that out from history, folks. We don't get into that, but that's another time. But mass incarceration is real. Gentrification is real, Michelle. Police brutality, we just seen Tyreek Nichols that we did a report on, Michelle, that's real. And access to wealth. I can't wait till we come right back and talk about credit cards and what do we have access to. And then I'm going to ask Leroy, how much money do we put out in the Black church, in the Black community? You know, I was doing the study and also learned that every Sunday, the church put out $8 million per Sunday. All churches put together, $8 million per Sunday, and goes into another colored person's bank. You know, that's a lot of money per Sunday, $8 million per Sunday. And when it goes to different banks and not ours. So we're going to take a commercial break. Folks, don't touch that dial. You watch the Pick TV Network right now. And get a pencil and pad. We see your chats coming in. This is heavy, but it's good. Hey, everybody, we're back here on the Pick TV Network. I want to go into a little talk with Michelle, and we'll bring our guest back up in a second. Michelle, again, because you are a co-host of Pick TV Network, an anchor person, award-winning person from Mississippi. When we're talking about these 5 areas, and I know it's a whole different subject that we're going to talk about in the future, miseducation. You're from Mississippi. A lot of people don't know about the Devil's Punch Bowl. And when the Confederate Army surrounded and 20,000 Black people were killed coming out of slavery.
Actually, let me make the correction. I want to make the correction right now. The Union Army had actually taken over, and the Union Army had gathered up over 100,000 people. And we're talking about an area right outside of Natchez Trace. And what they did was they made these people, they literally worked them to death, made them dig their own graves. Because once the Union took them over, they handed them back over to the dead Confederacy. They were like, well, what are we going to do with all these people? They're like, we don't want them to be free. We'd rather them be dead. And that's what they started doing. And so there's a whole mass grave out there of former slaves in Mississippi called the Devil's Punch Bowl.
Michelle, I've been teaching. I taught them in high school. I taught in college. I grew up in the DC public school system. Not in one book, not in all my life, Michelle, up until maybe 3 years ago, I was doing some research on YouTube. I heard about this. This is miseducation. It's called blackout to me, and I'm writing a book on that. It's blacked out of our history. I don't know. Let me bring up Leroy for a minute. Leroy, have you ever heard of the Devil's Punch Bowl?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Let me ask Miss Robinson. Miss Robinson, have you ever heard of it?
No.
Queen Robinson?
No.
Well,
Michelle, talk about it, please.
Well, it's even more than that. There's no history of the Tulsa Race Massacre. There's no history of Elaine, Arkansas. Rosewood, the only reason people know about that is because of the movie, but everybody didn't attend the movie. People don't know that Black people hold over 50,000 patents. We've invented some of everything. So while we talk about a blackout and the blackout is real, the other part of it is we need to now educate our kids. We need to now make sure that they know this information. Because the one thing about integration, it's more not integration, but assimilation. They want you to learn European history, French history, anything but Black history, except for little minor occurrences, because no one even is talking about Dr. Martin Luther King. This guy authored over 7 books. Community or Chaos, Where Do We Go From Here is one of them. Strength to Love is another one. And he also, we talk about I Have a Dream, but no one talks about him talking about the check that America owes us, the check that we need to cash. And he always talked about reparations, but they always downplayed that. He's always said that we need to be economically viable. But all he's ever known for is I have a dream. Well, his dream was for us for equality. And we still, that dream is not realized. That's the check that he was speaking of, that we need America to cash.
Yeah, I love his speech on 40 Acres in the Mule. For those who've never heard that speech, go look it up. He talks about that in depth, how America has reneged on the 40 Acres and the Mule. And I love that speech because he goes in. And like she was saying, all you hear is that I Have a Dream speech and him in DC giving this speech, and that ain't the only speech he gave.
That's right.
He has so many speeches that he gave that you never even hear about, that people just need to, people need to listen to him. Even when he on the pulpit, and that's when he's at his best. He's on the pulpit. And people need to hear this.
Well, I grew up with Medgar Evers. and his brother Charlie Everett, and they always spoke of financial equality. Something that here's the deal. And this is good. It's not even funny, but it's realistic. We had a cab company. We had a white cab company and a black cab company. Well, there was a line of demarcation. When we talk about lines of demarcation, we're talking about a line drawn around black properties where black people couldn't even get loans for properties. Okay. And they call that a red line. And that red line, you can't see it on the ground. But if you go to the bank and they're like, I want to buy a property here. Oh, no, you can't buy a property here because this is a white area. And or I want to buy a property in a black. Or no, we don't lend to people in black areas. That was red line. So when you took a taxi, the taxi company is like, where are you going? East End, West End, or red line? That's how much or how significant red line was. And I heard that my whole life. And I was like, why do they call it red line? Because I never saw a red line. And so I asked Dr. Young, I was like, I asked Charles Young, his father, why is that a red line? He says, that's where the line stops where we can go. If you notice, if you try to go, and I grew up in Meridian, Mississippi, you try to go down Grandview Avenue, you can buy property. Now, I'll tell you how serious this is. When my father had gotten to retire, he wanted to buy a house. There was a house on that side of the line, across red line. It's literally 3 blocks from where my mom's old house is. They would not let him buy that property. They made every excuse. That property sat on the market for another 6 months. They would not let us get that property because it was crossed the red line.
Wow. And that's the reason why today, speaking of Dr. King, watch this.
All we say to America is be true to what you said on paper. If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right. And so just as I say we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
Mr. Hill. It still runs chills to my body when I see him putting his life on the line, Michelle. No egos. He was not doing it for self-glory or political gain. He was just trying to fight for the people. and help the people as we're stating tonight. Who's standing up today, Michelle? Who's standing up today, Michelle, for quality education, for mass incarceration, for gentrification, police brutality, and wealth like we have, Brother Carlton, tonight? Because when I look out into the world, I see so much going on, Michelle, but I don't see a leader out there standing up for us that we all rallying behind. You know, it seems as though...
Because I'm going to stop you right there.
Okay.
Because that's been one of the pitfalls of our society. We think we need a leader. We don't. We need to lead ourselves. We need to read ourselves. We need to lift each other up ourselves. Because anytime you have one leader, your movement is doomed to fail, because it's going to fail as soon as that leader is done, as soon as that leader is gone. We have to educate each other. We have to elevate each other. We have to teach each other financial responsibility. And that's why we have programs like this, because we have experts in our community, like Leroy, like Ms. Robinson, that can teach us. We have our own broadcasting company where we can tell the truth and we're not censored. But we have to come back to a society, and when I'm talking about Black people now. I'm talking about African American people now, where we respect ourselves. We got to get out of the culture of dumb is okay, being stupid is okay, and listening to foolishness. We have to elevate our minds. We have to pick up books. We have to learn our history, because if we don't learn this history, we're doomed to repeat slavery. Trust me, they're working on ways to bring it back. Mississippi has already told you. Recently, they have 2 court systems, one for white, one for Black. Jim Crow 2.0 is here.
Yes,
Folks,
it is.
wake up and see the realization of what's going on.
I totally agree. So I think that's one of our biggest failures. We see what's going on and we're not reacting. We're just sitting back, letting it happen, which is, we can't do that. Not today. We can't do that. If we want to continue, and here's the thing, I think we as a people can become one of the most powerful races on this planet if we unite and work together. No one can stop it.
Well, think about it. They just found 320 metric tons of gold in Uganda. That means Uganda now has the world standard for gold, which is a standard, right? What's going to happen in Uganda? Well, what do you think is going to happen? People are going to try to recolonize. It's not going to happen today, though, because them folks not playing over there. We have to come to the realization of, once we come into power, or any kind of power, we need to make sure that we elevate everybody. There can't be the talented 10th. We did that before. It didn't work. We have to bring everyone with us for this to be successful. And
but I want to go back to one thing, Michelle, because me and you got a debate on this. I believe, Dr. King, we do need more leaders like Dr. King. I believe we do need people to stand up on the front line. I respect what you said about us standing up and being for ourselves, but what about today's date? We have a president, and you know who was in there before he was, and you were totally against what he did. You know, so I'm saying, when we have leaders in position, because I believe when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. When the wicked in authority, the people mourn. I believe righteousness exalts a nation, sin is the reproach to any people. When a theocracy happens, we have to rally behind Moses because God is using him. So I want you to define that, because I believe we do need leaders. I'm a leader. You're a leader. So define that.
It's more than one person, because when we say leaders, guess what happens every time we appoint leaders or people are appointed leaders? People go after that person to try to bring them down. Let's think about what Satan does when we talk about clergy people. This is something close to you. You know, as a member of clergy, that you're always going to be fighting battles because your people, your congregants are looking at you. But as soon as you have a failure, you lose 25% or you lose 50%.
Yeah.
That's why we have to co-lead. When I say co-lead, everybody has to be responsible. Everybody has to be accountable. I'm not saying not have leaders. I'm saying that you've got to have so many people ingrained and moving in the same direction that when one person goes, we don't lose the momentum like we did when Dr. King left, like we did when JFK got shot, like we did when all these other leaders were murdered. Everybody has to step up to the plate. This has to be a community effort. And when I say community, I'm talking about the total community, not just the fringes, not just the 10%, not just the 20%. I'm talking about it's going to take a commitment from all of us.
And I think that's where we lost and lost a little bit on this, Michelle. And I want to bring you in. When we were growing up, we knew everybody in that block. Because we talked about this, Michelle, reconnecting the generation. Miss Drummond, Miss Draper, Mr. Horak, we knew Mr. Brown, everybody in that block. I knew my phone number 202-462-7457 30 years ago because we were a community. We had unity. I don't even know the people I'm living in my community now, Michelle. We don't even know each other. You know, and let's talk about this for 1 second because I know we got to move on. The gentrification. I wrote down Martin Luther King Avenue today, Michelle. Martin Luther King Avenue today, which at our time there was more people like this on Martin Luther King chilling and hanging out, and kids and adults and stuff. Nobody. Homeland Security is over there.
You know why, right? Because we didn't have a choice. We were segregated. So even if you were upper crust black, you still had to live in the black enclave. They had black people that lived in mansions and this, that, and the other. They didn't live close to poorer people, but they were accessible. Now that's not that way. But that doesn't mean that we don't have strength. The question is what are you doing with the resources? Now, here's the deal. It's good that we have some separation. I'm not talking about integration. I'm talking about some separation because that way the news can travel to other places. Because if all black people were in, say, the Southeast region,
right?
What do you think would happen when we start to really rise up? When they start to see us gain wealth, us educate our kids? Because one of the best schools in Mississippi is a private black school. White folks got mad because we had a school that was excelling and theirs weren't. And they're looking at the education system and they're wondering, well, why is this school excelling? And they're not even part of our education system. Because the people in power want to keep us stupid.
There you go.
If we're educated and we know how to make money, how banking goes, the financial picture, how to create wealth, then they can't dupe us. But as long as they can keep us fighting, keep us divided, feed us stupidity as far as programming, this is what we'll have. That's why we can't get into who's going to be the leader. There's always going to be leaders. There are going to be some people that are going to shine. They're going to be exponentially better than everybody else. But everybody has to get into the mode of being accountable. We have to go back to self-accountability and self-actualization. Think about the Black Panthers. Think about all the stuff that they were doing.
And I totally agree with everything you just said, because if you think about it, we're never going to have leaders like we had back during the civil rights time. Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey. We're never going to have leaders like that no more. So you have to take it upon yourself, hold yourself accountable, like I do. My only goal is to educate every single person on finances, because I know nothing works without finances. Nothing. I don't care what you do, where you go. No business, no nothing works without finances. But if you know how finances work, then you can take care of your family. You can take care of yourself. You can do whatever you want to do and not have to worry about anybody saying anything to you. And if you got wealth, you done built wealth to a point where you don't have to work for somebody that determines how much money you make, which determines how you live, what you drive, what you put on. You call your own shots. So me being a leader is to teach the next man what I know, so he could teach the next person what he know. I know you heard the saying where you say, if you teach a man to fish, that's what we got.
Lifetime.
And me being a leader, you being a leader, Dr. Evans being a leader, Miss Robinson being a leader, and we all make a line. So if one drop, we still marching forward. Somebody pick that person up, get that person back on the line. And that's how it's got to work today.
And I'm
no one person. We need people.
I love it. And that broadens the scope, because again, if we move into ownership, because this is what I want to go into before we close this segment. I believe when we had schools and we were out, I had 90% African Americans teaching me. I went back to my high school at Cardozo 4 years ago. There is maybe 2% African Americans. What does that do, Michelle? We go to the hospitals down, and I don't want to say names because I don't want to put names out there, but they're full, especially during COVID, and put them downstairs where you know who is. Then we go to supermarkets. Michelle, we talked about this, the deserts. Why do they, when we go get something to eat, the first thing you see up there is, I can't say the names of these things because Michelle, sugar, salt, everything runs out, blood pressure's up, everything, they give us heart disease, that's right. All of these things are there for us in our community. And I'm seeing, it's so sad, Michelle. There was a person on television, and he said, or radio, or via TV, he said, you see this $20 bill? And he was from a different background. He said, you will never see it. He said, because this only will circulate in our race. It will only go with us. You won't see this money. This will only stay around in our community. And I'm saying, Michelle, and we're going to get into this credit thing in a second. Why is it, brother Leroy and Michelle, this only circulates in theirs? I never seen on all my life, and I love Chinese food, I never seen us behind the counter serving the shrimp fried rice, the mumbo sauce, the fried wings, you know, what's the name of the other ones, Michelle? Put the duck sauce on.
The duck sauce, the shrimp rolls,
egg rolls, shrimp fried rice, no main.
They had the little kids back there, Michelle. They had their little kids back there taking the money, swiping the stuff. I went to one place around 15 years ago, and I was like, order some Chinese food, shrimp fried rice, egg roll, mumbo sauce, and some wings. And it cost like $11.29. The lady said, okay. I said, I only got $11.20. She said, well, bring back the 9 cents. I said, okay. She said, well, give me your wallet. Give me your driver's license. I said, what? Yeah, give me your license, and till you bring back the 9 cents. To the penny. I said, no, keep your food. Don't even worry about that. Michelle, it's something going on when we, of other different nationalities, and you guys talking about what's happening here in China, you still can't go to certain places. You still can't go to the rest and live in that community. What's up with this, Michelle? And how does it circulate, Leroy, out of our community and goes everywhere else? And we never even...
Let me throw this at you. There's a guy named R.V. Singh, Indian guy. I love him because when he talks, he tells it. Now, he said he comes from India. He comes to the States. And India teach their people, when you come here, you already coming here with a business mind that you're going to start a company. He said when he came to the States, his dad was a worker, his mom was a worker. And he thought if he go to school, get a good GPA, then his GPA will determine the type of money he will make. And he come to learn real quick. Going through college, he went through law school, passed the bar. He went to medical school, became a doctor. And he said everything that he learned going through school told him, I'm teaching you to be an employee. When he said he never practiced law, he passed the bar, never practiced law, because he was told, you're going to go work for this firm. He wasn't told, now that you're a lawyer, open your own firm. When he did his medical stuff, okay, you're going to go over here and work for this hospital and do your residency there. He wasn't told to start his own practice. And he was like, why are we taught to become employees and not taught to become business owners, entrepreneurs? Why are we not given that information? So when you sit back, and I'll use me as an example. I served 30 years in the military. Upon getting out of the military, it was my goal to start this company, because my only aspect was to teach my people about finances. Because when I look at all the homeless vets, which there should be none, if you didn't gave your life to the United States, why isn't the government making it so there is no homeless veterans? I feel the lowest ranking person in the military should be making at least $80,000 to $90,000 a year. But you only make that kind of money depending on the rank. So the officers make more than the enlisted. So my goal was, okay, if that's the case, if you're going to make the military a career, let me show you what to do with your money. Don't put your money in no TSP. That's garbage. All they doing is robbing you. Example, I wanted my money out of the TSP. I had to go through tooth and nail, cutting ropes and everything else to get my money. And then in order to do that, I had to take a tax hit. Okay, I'll take the tax hit. Just give me my money. So now that I got my money, I went straight and put it into an annuity. So when you retire from the military, which a lot of people do, when they retire, they have nothing to fall back on. If you ain't got a job lined up, working for somebody, what are you going to do? You still got bills you need to pay, all of this. So once I retired, I didn't need to work because I had funds, but if it wasn't for my wife being a doctor, she kind of took hold of everything until we got everything going the way we needed it to go. But just think of all the people that don't have that gets out of the military and have nothing to fall back on. Why? Because one, the military don't tell you about finances. They give you a check the box. And what I mean by check the box is, once you get to the point that you're about to get out of the military, they have this thing called a TAP class, where they'll teach you how to do resumes, and they'll teach you how to search for a job, and they'll show you how to balance your checkbook and pay your bills. That's a check the box. That ain't telling me nothing about finances. I just want to make sure that we did tell you something, so when you get out there, you can't blame us. But I do blame them, because if I know more about finances, then I won't need the military. So why would I tell you anything about finances? So this is why this is so important, that people need to understand. Finances control a lot of stuff, whether you want to believe it or not. Think about, look at the government. Trillions of dollars in debt on what? Helping other countries instead of taking care of the people right here in the United States? How many times you ever heard of Canada going out of their way to help another country before they help the people in Canada? That's what they do. Everybody in Canada got health care. Financed through the government. So why is the United States not doing that for the people here? Is it because they're going to benefit from it? Or somebody going to lose money? All the big corporations that handle the medical stuff are going to lose money. All of the doctors that's sitting at the top making all this money is going to get pay cuts.
Yeah.
This is what people don't understand. And so me telling a person about finances, soon as I say I'm a financial advisor, I get the deer in the headlights look.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, you do what?
Yeah.
What were you looking for a white man to tell you this?
Wow.
But that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know if you ever heard of Hank Prim. He is one of 7 Black scientists in the United States, and he's from Philadelphia. Every year he does, just before the school year starts, he does a science fair for the kids, and he buys books, paper, pens, pencils, everything that the kids need for the school year. The thing is, you have to come to his science fair, and you have to listen to the, you know, all the little stuff and tricks he do with science. And then when the show is over, you get in line to go get all your school supplies. Well, my wife and I set up a booth. Now, we know majority of the people that's coming to this are coming from the hood. Understand that. So we have our booth. You got to hit us before you get to the books. So the people would stop. We give them information. We give them our card. We write down their numbers and emails. And we talk to them and we say, look, we just want to help you do better with your money. You don't have to make a whole lot of money to build wealth. That's what people don't understand. They think, and I got to be making all these thousands of dollars or millions of dollars in order to build wealth. No, that's not true. So that's what we were telling the people there. And they were all interested because they couldn't believe somebody Black was sitting there talking to them about money. But you know, you always got that one. You always got that one that comes up. Now I'm sitting here and me and my wife is talking to this lady that's 70 years old. And she said, I know it's kind of too late for me to really do something. And I was like, no, how you figure that? It's never too late. Warren Buffett ain't start making money till he was 55 years of age. So it is never too late. Then this one dude comes up and he says to me, and this is, it just burns me up every time I think about it. But he says to me, what credentials do you have that I should listen to you?
Wow.
Now, my wife saw my face because the first thing that came to mind was to go off on this dude. My wife put her hand on my shoulder and she saw it in my face. I took a deep breath and I said, listen, brother, I served 30 years in the military. I have a master's degree in information systems and network and securities. Wow. I have a master's degree in business logistics. I own my own company. I work for no one. Who do you work for?
Mm-hmm.
I guess you do got credentials. I said, is it because I'm not a white man sitting here giving you this information? Because if it was coming from a white man, you wouldn't have questioned his credentials.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of our biggest problems, because to my people, I'm a sellout because I no longer live in the hood. But if I'm making money to take care of my family, why would I stay in the hood? I want my family to be in a place where they can prosper and grow.
Yeah.
Isn't that what we're supposed to do? That's what the Rockefellers been doing for years. And they're still one of the richest families in the United States today. And they did it all through life insurance. So why are we not doing that?
Same thing.
Yeah. Why are we not doing that? Generational wealth.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
And it is our time. And I want to thank you, man, Leroy, just my brother, man. I love you, man. You know, we met prior to I'm starting Pick TV Network, and I told you what we was going to do and you've been there all the time, man. From ground zero, when we didn't have no commercials, no shows, no programs, zero, nothing. I told you we're gonna start a TV network, Pick TV, and we here. And Michelle seen where we come from too. Before we close our segment, we got about maybe another 15 minutes. We're gonna go. This is a series, folks. So this is gonna be every Wednesday. So you want to get ready for next week. But I want to go into the segue of us going into credit. You know, a whole lot of people got the plastic, and this has changed the whole world too. We're going to take a brief break. We're going to talk about some questions that we already been asking about credit. And one is somebody said, what is the difference between a commercial bank and credit unions? We'll tackle that in a few minutes. But when we talk about these credit questions for a minute, folks, why is it so easy to get into credit debt and hard to get out? Can a person have more credit over the limit fees than the credit card is worth? And I know we can answer that one. And how to practice good credit care, you know. So a couple of these we're going to deal with before we close out this segment. And you're talking to some good people, y'all. This is a masterclass you're getting here today on the Pick TV network. We'll be right back after this. Hey everybody, we're here back at the Pick TV network. We have a big hot show going on right now. Michelle, I want to bring you up for a minute along with our king tonight. We're going to talk about credit for a minute. My first credit card, my second credit card maxed out because I didn't know what to do with it. I was just in college. I got a credit card. I didn't know anything about late fees and overdrafts and all of this stuff. And I was just like, I was just in my 20s, you know, yeah. And it's a sad thing because you got to have good credit before you have bad credit. And those who are watching right now, I can't wait to hear from these two great people that I love so much, Michelle Cox, Atlanta, Georgia, and from the king today of TCL Financials about credit cards, late fees, overdrafts. And I'm finding out today that if you got a young person or you got somebody who never had a card, you've been approved. One time, Michelle, this man was just playing around. He put his dog in there and said, "You've been approved." He put his dog name in and said, "You've been approved." I mean, so let's talk about this for a minute before we close and get ready for next week's segment. Credit cards. What in the world? This whole world just went crazy. Is it really a loan, Michelle?
No, it's more than a loan. It's debt. It's straight up to the gate debt. Because the thing about it is, when you start, you don't have any credit. You're basically a blank canvas. You don't have good credit, bad credit. You don't have any credit. So for a long time, a lot of people, especially black people, we paid with cash. But here's the deal. Every time we get in the game, they change the rules. So they're like, okay, you got to have credit. So we're like, oh, we're going to send you this credit card. But we're not reading the fine print. The fine print is, oh, this credit card interest is 29.99, 30%, da-da-da-da. And we're spending this money, but we're not fiscally responsible, accountable, or making sure that we're paying those bills off every month in order to establish great credit. Because, you know, I remember when I didn't have any credit, I did everything by cash. Went to buy a car. They're like, well, you can't buy a car because you don't have credit. I'm like, but I got money here. They're like, no, you got to have some credit. So got my first car, and I didn't know about annuities. I knew, but I didn't know what I know today.
Right.
Because if I had known, look, put your money in an annuity, go borrow from the annuity, pay for the car, and then pay yourself back. You be the bank.
That's right.
So that's the part. And that's why you're here today, Leroy, because people need to know how to understand that just because you have a credit card or credit debt doesn't mean that you have good credit. So explain the principles of credit, how to use credit cards right quick, if you don't mind.
Okay. I have 2 cards. I have a Discover and I have an American Express. American Express is on business credit. So I only use it for my company. And I don't use it much because, like you said, reading that fine print, the annual interest rate on that card is 30%. The annual interest rate on the Discover card is 29.9%. Now, the Discover card I use to pay my household bills every month. I use that card that gives me cash back every time I use it. So I'll take that, pay my bills, take my money, pay the card off, which builds my credit. Then it gives me cash back to take that cash back and do whatever I want to do with it and not charge the card. So what people don't understand, a credit card is giving you money, which is going to entice you to spend that you don't have. If you know you ain't got $2,000, why would you go charge $2,000? Because, like she said, a credit card is instant debt unless you're using it wisely. And you have to be careful. My grandmother always say, don't give away money that you're looking to get back. She used to always say this. So if a person come to you and say, hey man, can I get $100 loan from you? Don't give them that money if you're looking to get it back, because 9 out of 10, you're not going to get it back. So don't loan it. That's the same thing with a credit card. You charging money that you don't have, but they're going to get that money back because it's going to work one or two ways. We're going to destroy your credit because we're going to keep putting inquiries on your credit to drop your score, so you won't be able to get nothing from nobody. And 2, the interest rate is going to go up every time you don't make a payment. And it's going to get to a point where you're so much in debt that we pretty much own you. So I always say to people who are looking to get credit cards, if you own a business, spend somebody else's money, not your money. And that's business credit. Spend somebody else's money, not your money. That way, their money is working for you. And you're making money off of their money like the banks do. If you do need to get a credit card, use it wisely and use it to a point where it's helping your credit, not hurting your credit. Because once you get to a point that a credit card is hurting your credit, it's going to keep hurting your credit until you get it off of there. And once you get into that debt, it is hard to get out of credit card debt. It's really hard unless you're disciplined and really want to get out of that, which we're number one. African-American people are number one when it comes to spending money. We are number one. We are the top over any other race on the planet. We will spend money, whether it's credit, whether it's cash. I don't care how we do it, we gonna spend it. So I love giving the education on credit cards because people really not aware and they don't read the fine print. Even when they're applying for the card, it's right there in black and white, and they refuse to see that big, and it's always a huge number right there. You can't miss it. 29.9%. You'll see it and you'll ignore it.
And I want to say to Michelle and you, I've been there, I've done that, and talked to some people now where they have more overdraft fees than the credit card is worth. I mean, they haven't used their card in a year. But the overdraft, because it keeps bouncing, boom, then it's a revolving credit, then it blows up. When I had my credit card in college, again, I was just trying to pay my tuitions and I was in a hard place, and I said, man, I got to put this on my credit card. I don't have a choice, and it took time to get back. But Michelle, and I want to ask you for a minute, Michelle, when a person has that credit card, you said something that really stuck out. They changed the rules. You get it and it says one thing in the fine print. Next thing you know, the rules change again. And how many credit cards are too much? I know some people got 10 credit cards, Michelle. 10 credit cards.
The real deal is, number one, know that interest is compounded every month. You have to know the difference between when your statement comes out and when you need to make a payment. If you pay as soon as the statement hits, and with credit cards, you should pay twice a month. If you got a credit card, you should pay when the statement hits, and then you should pay it by the due date. That's 2 payments a month. That's right. Going to automatically boost your credit. I had to learn that the hard way. Well, look, here's the deal. I had medical debt. I'm a breast cancer survivor. I have sarcoidosis. I literally had like $60,000, $70,000 worth of medical debt. Broke my hip. You got medical debt. Mm-hmm. Okay, You go. Now, instead of me, the first time I went into medical debt with the cancer, instead of me negotiating with the hospital, I put it on my credit card. Wrong move. Terrible move. Absolutely ridiculous. I was blessed that I could pay it off. And I did. But those things came back to haunt me. It's just like finding out, hey, be the bank. Get an annuity, borrow from the annuity, pay yourself back. There's no finance charge, because that's what kills us. I remember when I got really good credit, that seven some change credit, 754 credit, and I went to buy a car. I went to Ford. They're like, you have phenomenal credit. You know what my credit rate was? 0. So not only did I get a really good rate, I saved because I negotiated. I got last year's model. I didn't get this year's model. Mm-hmm. They gave me $10,000 off. They gave me my military credit, and I got 0% financing. That's a great deal. Other than that, you got suckered. That's why we need to teach our kids when they go to college. Yeah, it hurts because you see your friends going to get pizza. You see your friends going to get a burger. I tell everybody, you in college, do like I did. I shined shoes. I worked at McDonald's. I had a job.
That's right.
I didn't have a credit card. I didn't get a credit card until I was fully grown. Because I watched my parents do the peonage thing. And black people got caught up in that a lot. You go to the finance company and you get money to get furniture. And this was before they were telling you what the interest rate was. Mm-hmm. And I see my parents struggling, 6 kids. They're like, well, y'all need somewhere to sleep. We need a little furniture. But not knowing that my mom or dad will go down and pay. And then all of a sudden, that payment comes up missing. Well, they don't do that today. Today, you have to stay on top of your responsibility. You have to be fiscally responsible, and you have to be accountable all the time. That means everybody's got one of these little devices. Everybody got a phone.
Yes, they do.
Phones have calendars. mark on your calendar your due date of your statement date and the date that you need to pay. Pay money as soon as the statement hits, make a payment. Then, as soon as the due date, make another payment. If you split all those payments, what it's going to do is it's going to signal the credit card company, these people are fiscally responsible. They'll give you more credit. Doesn't mean you have to use all the credit. That's the other part of it. And I got hip to this because there's a little guy out there. He's been using his cards to pay all his monthly bills. Every month he pays them off. Every month he's getting cash back.
Yep.
Dr. Evans, do you realize as a business owner, because I was using Sam's Club, the business card, right?
Mm-hmm.
Paying it off. I got over $1,000 back last year. That was mine.
Wow.
So the little membership fee they charged me for it, no problem. Took that out of there. I had all the money that I spent for Christmas didn't come out of my pocket. It came from my cash back.
Mm-hmm.
But they got a little dude out there. He's so cold. He been doing all of that, and he got enough cash back to buy him a new car.
Wow. Wow.
And people don't understand how important that is.
He was paying the cash back card on the statement date and then paying it off on the due date every month.
And think about this.
He's chopping them.
Think about this.
I think dude got last year like $40,000.
Wow. Wow. I'm amazed.
Here's a little trick that I'll just throw out to the people. Sam's Club. You mentioned Sam's Club. I went to Sam's Club and I opened up a Sam's Club business account. Right? I kept that account for like 30 days. Then I went back into Sam's Club and said, hey, I want to apply for the business MasterCard. Okay. I got approved for $25,000. Now, I don't use it, but that's business credit. That's money that Sam's Club is giving my company to use at my leisure. So, and people need to understand there's your personal credit and then there's your business credit. It's two different things. Okay. I don't use nothing on my business credit. Everything I use is on my business credit. I don't use nothing on my personal credit. So people need to understand the difference between the two. And that's another thing that I help people with, helping you get your credit on track. Because if your score is 500, 400, in that rim, even 600 in that rim, people will not look at you. They'd be like, nah, you need to do more. You need to do more. Now, if you up in the 700s, that's a great thing. My goal was to at least get to 800. I've yet to get there, but I'm working on it. But I'm in the 700s. I'm like 740. So if you can, and it took some time to get my credit there because I had done a lot of stuff, like Dr. Evans said, in college, in the military. I did a lot of stupid stuff when it comes to credit. So, you know, one thing that I did do, when I joined the military, I wanted a car. Because, you know, that's the first thing a recruit do. Once they get out of boot camp and they get that money, go get me a car. Well, my attitude was, if I can't get the car I want, I'm not getting a car. So I would catch the bus. I would catch a cab. But I would save that money until I was able to get what I want. My first car was a 1999 BMW 325 IS. And I saved all my money to get that car. And my friends laugh. Oh, you catching the bus? You in the cab? Yeah, you laughing. But they weren't laughing when they saw that car.
Yeah.
Because I had enough money to darn near pay it off. So my payments was nothing. So what did that do? I would double up on the payments. That increased my credit.
And I want to jump in for a second. I want to jump in for a second, and this is great information. Folks, you're watching the PIC TV Network Hello America presentation. This is a series that was coming on every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Michelle, I'm doing the history of the credit cards. I'm doing the history. And it says, after Diners Club issued the first charge credit in 1950, a payment card began evolving into what is known as the credit card today. In 1958, American Express Company jumped into the payment card scene and launched the first credit card, American Express. Michelle, Queen Michelle, King Leroy, we only have 10 more minutes and we really want to end at 9. Was it meant for us? Was it meant for us, Michelle?
No.
Talk about it, Michelle.
Not only was it not meant for us, because let's think about it. Diners Club, American Express, Carte Blanche, all of those were not meant for us. Because you got to remember, when that came out, we were still in segregation. We still legally in a whole lot of states couldn't even enter into contracts because we were still under Jim Crow rules.
Yep.
So that wasn't available to us. The only way that you could get American Express back then as a black person, you had to be a doctor with your own practice or a lawyer, and you had to have somebody vouch for you. And when I say somebody, I don't mean another black person. Somebody in the white community to vouch for you before you could get a credit card. Like I told you, there's a movie for everybody. It's called The Banker with Samuel Jackson and Anthony Mackie. It's the true story of Mr. Garrett. This dude was already smart. Him and his partner, they opened 2 banks, but they couldn't open it in their own name. They couldn't be the face of the bank. They got a white guy to be the face of the bank. And because his wife said, oh, they can't be smarter than us. There's no way they can be. He ended up making both of the banks collapse. Not them, but the white guy. So you have to see this movie. It's a true story, and you can look it up. You can look up the whole story behind this and read for yourself. Him and his partner ended up owning, literally, they had over 200 rental properties when they were already above the game. But you know what? White folks are like, nope. Sabotage. We can't have it.
Yep. So sad.
Amazing. Michelle. Yeah, and that's just why we got to get into this next week. We got to take it to another level of these credit cards. Michelle said it was never meant for us. Leroy, the financial expert, said it was never open for us. So my question when we come back and we move forward, why give us something? I have an all-access pass. What did I do? Where did I drop? Here it is. The all-access pass, Michelle. All access. Why would you give me this and you bring me into the room and I don't know the rules? Why would you even offer that to me and get me in there and I'm not prepared? I'm just getting it and I'm just going crazy.
Because I make money when you're in debt. You always owe me. I own you. This is the new slavery is economic.
Yes,
I will keep you working till you die because you're in a prison of want. Not that you need this stuff. You're in a prison. Oh, I saw so-and-so got this. I'm going to go get it. Without consciously thinking about what you're doing. Without consciously thinking about what am I going to leave my kids? What am I going to leave my grandkids? What am I going to leave my great-grandkids? They lure you in with the shiny trinket, same way they did when the colonizers came here to America, and they got all of the whole Eastern Seaboard, all the way down to Louisiana for $24. And we know that's some bull. And every time we get, because you said something about Trump. And look, doesn't matter your political views here. I don't care. My thing is, he's done a lot of bad things.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
But he's done some good things.
I ain't a Trump fan. So
I'm not a Trump fan at all. But my thing is, as a business person, we have 21% taxes now. The lowest tax rate of everybody. Because if you got $1 million, a regular person got $1 million right now, your taxes on $1 million is 40%. As one person, unless hit him with the goods, Mr. Leroy. What do you do if you get $1 million?
Put in a life insurance policy.
Thank you.
Wow.
And it's
why?
Untaxed.
Tell them why.
Because you cannot tax a life insurance policy.
Thank you. And what else can you do once your money is in that annuity?
You can have that money reallocated back into the annuity, and you can take money out of that annuity to do whatever you want and pay yourself back. Cut out the middleman, which is the bank.
Thank you very much.
Secret weapon to everything we learned tonight, folks. We got to come back next week. Our time is out. This has been amazing, folks. This is better than a movie, you guys. You got to look at this repeat all over again. The Queen spoke tonight, Michelle Cox, and we also had the King to talk about it, TLC Financial. We'll see you next week on the Pick TV Network. Hey, we stick around. We may have an after talk, folks. Don't go too far. We may bring them to the next studio and pick this up again. Thank you for your time, folks. Watching Pick TV Network Special Edition today. We'll see you next time.